Well, good morning, everyone. It is Sunday, so it's time for chatting with Charles, and here we have Unfcknblvbl for his triumphant return.
Triumphant, yes. Morning, everyone. Morning, Charles.
Good morning. How are you, my friend?
Very well. Very well. Thank you. How are you?
I am doing well. I'm awake. I'm alive, and much more than that, I don't know. So I'm not promising anything. Oh, all right. So let's go ahead and see who we have in the chat and say hello to everybody. How's that?
Sounds good.
All right. So we have our buddy Dan Gorman first in the chat. Hello there. Looking forward to having Dan on pretty soon. Hopefully we can make that happen. And I do have a request from some of the viewers. They would love to see Time Surfing Alien on the show. So just good morning and let me know. And we got our buddy Earl Cooleye saying good morning, everyone. He's looking forward to another episode of Chatting with Charles and the one and only Unfcknblvbl as we discuss his guitar journey of discovery and life in general. So, and,
Oh, the pressure.
Kind of like the Dalai Lama of the guitar world.
Yeah. Sure.
Full of wisdom. Doesn't always follow it, but he is full of the wisdom.
Full of something.
Hey, good morning, Tone Yeager. How are you, Tone Yeager 72? Good morning to you, my friend.
Morning.
All right. And of course, my alter ego or my brother, whichever you prefer to view it as, Ed is in the chat. Good morning to you. Okay, and Ferd Burfel is in, and Ferd Burfel and Gary are in the chat and arguing about who's older and how the cold affects them. And no, I the only thing I could say about that, Chris, is I feel their pain. I know where they're coming from.
Yes. Yes. I can sympathize. I can empathize.
And GTR 1952, Gary, good morning to you as well, my friend. Let's see. And JP Page 2 has made his way in. Awesome. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Jim.
And Patrick Trice is saying good day to everybody.
Good day, eh?
And Steve Resser.
Hey, Steve.
Good morning to you, Steve. Hoping to have Steve on here pretty soon, too, as well, Chris.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. And that searching for tone guy, Brian, is here with us. How are you doing, Brian?
Morning.
And Wayne McConnell. Oh, excuse me. I didn't mean to cut you off. Wayne McConnell, good morning to you, my friend. How are you? And did you know, Chris, that Keith H. is here?
I do now. We're warned.
We are warned. And Martian Murray, good morning to you as well. Let's see. There he is. We can start now because Dastardly Dave is in the house.
Nice. Thanks, Dave.
You know, I always picture Dastardly Dave in some kind of pirate-themed band. I don't know what it is.
That could work.
It could work. And Ben is here and giving us a little grief.
Oh, thanks, Ben.
Good morning, Ben. And BC Rich 581. He's up early this morning in Arizona. That he is. But, you know, usually he is up early and out and playing disc golf.
Usually. I skipped it for this special occasion.
And it was very much appreciated. Let's see. Good morning, River Docs. Hope you're doing well. It's too cold here to go to the beach for lunch, so popped in with us. Appreciate that. Let's see. There he is. Jimmy Bider's made his way in with his what's up, everybody.
What's that, Jimmy?
Gotta love Jimmy. He's a character.
I love the player.
And this was this next one is basically how I felt this morning. Who wrote he was not really here yet. Appreciate you, buddy. Gonna have to have Hobarodi on sometime too. No, that guy's here.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. And we got Blackjack Guitar saying good morning to both me and Chris and all the guitar folks out there.
Hey, Blackjack.
And live from Germany, Josh Fanberg. What's up, everybody? Hope you're making the transition well. Is it coincidence, you think, Chris, that Josh and Martin are right next to each other in the chat?
No, they planned it.
They planned it, yeah.
They planned it.
Martin says, two of the nicest people I know on the show. In the show. What a treat. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're trying to get a show together where we get where I bring Martin and Lucas in together to do a chat with Charles. So,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it'd be fun. We did them individually, and now it's time to put them back together. Don't want to be the one accused of breaking up the band. You know what I mean?
No, no, don't need another Yoko.
That's right. And good morning there, Eddie Fay. Hello, guitar friends. He says.
Hello, Eddie.
Let's see. And I am just scrolling through the chat to make sure we didn't miss anybody. Hip Metalworks has made his way in. Good morning, my friend.
Morning, Hip.
And Christopher Live Sal has made his way in.
Morning.
Good morning, sir. And we have a special treat. Mr. BHB Jr. Bruce has made his way in.
Bruce.
Credit. All right. So that catches us up with the chat. And the fellow's going to take that comment off. So for those of you that don't know, this is Unbelievable's second appearance on Chatting with Charles. And so we've kind of done the whole guitar journey. So we're going to start with a different obligatory question today. And so, Chris, what was that moment where you just realized that you're going to be a guitar player for life?
I don't know if it was a specific moment. To rewind the tape a little bit, I had saved up and purchased my first guitar amplifier. It wasn't a gift. And so, like we had talked about, once you have skin in the game, it's tougher to just let it go. So I knew right there and then, because I'd been wanting to play for so long and didn't receive a huge amount of encouragement from family and friends. And, well, I'm going to show you. And I did. And I think that once you master your first E chord, open E chord, at least for me, it's like, okay, that's it. That's it. That's it. Yeah, so I think that was the first moment.
Once you start making that little bit of progress and you kind of hit there and you're like, okay, I can do this. And it's like, you know, but how do you get to that point where you're like, that you don't want to quit, right? That you're like, oh, I'm not going to get where I want to get, and then just go hang them up and get rid of them, that kind of thing.
Oh, that part's tougher because you never stop learning. And it's a constant source of frustration of what I hear in my head I can't actually do. You know, it won't translate. And so it never a thought to just, oh, well, that's it. I'm done. Sell all the gear. Just take a step back or take a break for a couple of days or, you know, sometimes a week. And not try to force it so much. Yeah, I found that helped.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I mean, for me, it seems like those moments always come when you're trying to push to make, like, you know, some achievement, right? You're trying to get something done. It's until like you're maybe over practicing or you're spending too much time on it. And
yes, that happens. there are times when you do have to force it and force yourself to practice, to nail something. But more often than not, it's okay to take a break for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, Eddie, I do hear things in my head.
Yep, sure does. Well, and that's you're right. There is a real frustration of when you can't get what's in your head onto the guitar, or you can't figure something out where you can't get that one chord.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's like for me, that one chord is the F chord. It's just my fingers don't want to do it. It's like either I'm over muting in one string, or I got a finger that's pressing on a string that I don't want it to. And and then you try to play that chord for so long that your hand just kind of freezes, and that freezes up and doesn't want to do anything.
Yeah, that happens
And
when you're trying to, especially if you're trying so hard on it, or trying so hard that the hand will do a death grip.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're not going to get anywhere doing that. But that is too much tension kind of thing. So yeah, that's where time to take a break.
Mm-hmm. And I've noticed that in working in doing the fabric tops too. If I get frustrated, the best thing I can do is walk away and come back to it later.
I bet.
And I think the other side of that too is once you walk away, when you do come back to it later, it seems so much easier too.
It does.
Because you're not you're not looking at it and magnifying it and like, why doesn't this work, and why doesn't this work? And I think that's when you're smart enough to walk away at a certain time. That's when sometime the next time you come back in, it just kind of things fall into place. I was talking to my brother about this. I was teaching him some chords the other day, and he's like, I can't get this one. I just can't get it. I said, okay, well, work on it, and then when you get frustrated with it, forget it and go back to a chord that you can do really well and have some fun. Or go do something else and come back to it. What ends up happening is somehow when you're not actively working on it, your brain puts that kind of muscle memory together.
Yes.
And you're not overthinking it anymore, and it just happens. And you're like, all of a sudden, this chord you couldn't get at all, it just happens.
Yes. Yeah. Because your subconscious, will work on things when you're not actively thinking about it. And I found that exactly what you said, but for scales, suddenly things just seem to fall into place if I'm not thinking about it too much.
And welcome in Steve Brand, Charles Green. Who else that had snuck in while we're talking? And Arf, hello there. Let's see. Can you hear my wife in the background?
What?
Can you hear my wife in the background? She's talking to somebody on the phone, and she was like,
"No."
It's like, okay.
But hello.
All right. So I mean, I know we talked about this in our first round, but it's been a while, and I don't really remember. But how did you go about learning guitar?
Before I bought the guitar, I bought lots of guitar magazines with tab, and then there was a direct mail lesson or lessons from Doug Marks, I think called Metal Method or something like that, that had tapes. And so that's where I got the basics down from that. But then I just started to learn songs or pieces of songs from the tab. And as I had mentioned before, that hurt a lot because the early tabs weren't accurate at all.
Right.
So new and interesting creative ways to say play Iron Man or something like that. But that's where I learned. Never really took formal lessons, but friends would show me stuff. Is that, oh, okay, so that's how you do that, kind of thing, but never anything formal, which I do regret.
Mhm.
I should start taking lessons.
Well, so
Formal.
that's where I was gonna go with that next. Or do you? I mean, I know you play well, and I know you play better than you let on, and um, so that was the question. Is do you see yourself taking lessons?
I do. I need to make up my mind to just do it and commit to it. Life gets in the way of fun. Work gets in the way of fun. So if I'm at a spot to where I can commit to it and not, half-ass it, then yeah, for sure, I'd love to take lessons, not just from Ben, as we've been joking about behind the scenes,
Mhm.
but something formal.
Well, I want to welcome in Amanda Coombs. She's made her way in, and
Hey,
so
man.
hello. That's weird. I just got a text from my brother that says your show is 15 minutes late. Everybody is still waiting. I think he's behind.
He must be behind.
He's got to be behind somehow because I'm watching him chat here in the chat. So
Yeah, I see him chat
weird.
and checking YouTube, and it says you're live.
Yeah. No, and you hear it saying we're live, and we've been going for 17 minutes. So interesting.
Hello from the future. Then
That's right.
catch up.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think I'm doing an online course now, but I think eventually I'm going to go and take in person lessons. I think there's something about being it's nice being able to do it over this like this, but it's hard because then you're trying to make sure, oh, here's my fingers here so you can see my fingers, and here's
Mm,
it's that. And so but that the whole thing about that in person, face to face, it's easier to ask some questions or easy for someone to spot what you may not be doing right, and kind of thing.
yeah, yeah, and there's so many online lessons now that if I were just starting out now, I wouldn't know where to start. I mean,
Mhm.
Sean Pierce Johnson just released his, and those look really cool. But there's also Tim Pierce, Michael Pomsano, so many YouTubers, plus all the free lessons that are on
Right,
YouTube.
and then there's
It's
a bunch of learning systems out there. Like I had done for like a year, I did Fender Play, which was
Mhm.
really helpful, and it was really good at some things, but not so good at others. Um,
Sure.
and now I'm doing guitartricks.com. I just recently started that one, and but it's not a person in the room, right? It's not a person. It's not even of a back and forth this way. But it's been the Guitar Tricks has been real nice. I like it more than I liked Fender Play.
Yeah, it's good, but yeah, the face-to-face lessons, yeah, I think I'd get more out of that than you know just I don't want to say just another course, but an online course. Because even with the Zoom calls that you could have, it's still like you said. Well, am I holding my hand right?
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the whole thing.
Mhm.
It's like, can you hold your hand up so I can see where your fingers are, and can you
Mhm.
solo yourself out?
Sure.
It's exactly. Martin says, I hate when someone tries to show me a song while jamming. Even if it's chord changes, I know I can't do them right away. And I always need a night of sleep to process it. And then more often than not. And that's true. It's that in that moment of I need to kind of figure this out and get my mind around it. And yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that weird thing too when someone's showing you something and you don't want to struggle with it in front of them either.
Oh, yeah. for sure. But the OU812 crew have, I don't want to say reached out or even formally asked, but just said, hey, come on sometime and jam with us. And that would be a lot of fun because they're all, it's a great crew, great guys, great players, great tones. But with the jamming that they do is, I would need those backing tracks and would need to live with them for a while to figure out. So I'm just not repeating myself or repeating them. And so that's why I thanks, Ben. That's why I like that channel so much, is that they're not just doing the same as themselves, repeating themselves from week to week, or or each other.
Well, it's the one of the things about it is you get a crew of them, like guys like that, and they play so well, and it's intimidating. And
yeah.
I was thinking about this one time, and where it's like, how could I ever go on that show and play with them when they play so much better? I don't even want to try it. And then you think back to the stories of when Clapton and some of the other great guitarists had heard Jimmy Page play and
Hendrix.
Jimi Hendrix play, and they're like, and they all like, forget it, I'm gonna hang these up. And it's like when you that caliber is like, I'm gonna hang this up, forget it. It's funny because going back to what you said earlier, we're always learning something new, and we never think we're as good as we are, right? I was like, I could play a little.
Well, if we keep in mind that this wonderful instrument and music isn't a competition, and it is all just supposed to be fun and artistic expression, then yeah, they all play better than me, but it doesn't mean that they're going to look down on you or me and say, you can't even play. So, and maybe they would, but as they have said, they want everybody to come on and join them, and just for the community and fun.
Right, and that's exactly what they're after. They're after you to come out and have fun, and they don't care how well you play or how well you don't play. It's just come join in the fun.
Yeah, yeah. As long as they can hear and see you, you have everything dialed in for the digitals. And sure, go on.
Right, I've been holding off on this question, but Keith H keeps asking it, so I think we need to just get it out there. Keith wants to know if you have any new guitars.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, you want me to expound on that?
I do. I was like waiting to see if you were going to or not.
Yeah. So picked this up when world music was blown out. The factory seconds that they received from Diamond. So $700 guitar, regular and regularly priced, and I got it for less than $250 shipped. So it was a good deal. Looking for another telly-shaped object. Something I've been thinking on for a while is just two pickups, and it does have locking tuners on it. So yeah, it's pretty solid, and I can't find any blems. Oops, relic now. I can't find any blems. So
you're just giving it some character there.
Yeah, sure. Like we said before, after the first scratch, it doesn't matter. So, yeah, this is the one in hand, and then I do have something else on the way that I just purchased. How much of that do you want me to give away?
Well, that is entirely up to you. I will tell you, I did flash it. It did make an appearance on Friday's show.
Oh, yeah, it did. So as I was telling Charles off air, is never drinking reverb, and that's what I did. On Black Friday, and there was something in my watch list that had been there for a while, and made an offer on it that was more than 15%, and shockingly they accepted. So I have another Parker Fly on the way. Such a moron, but hey.
Well, let's be honest. You have been on the look for another Parker.
I have.
And so and you got the black one already, and so so now you've got a white one.
Yes, the white one's on the way. Should match very well with the black burst.
There's a red one in my area, so.
Oh no! Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that.
It was. I've been thinking about this since you sent me the picture, and so I guess you and I have something in common where we both like guitars that are a little bit off, right? A little bit different from the norm. And
sure.
But what is it about the Parkers themselves that attract you?
They're shred machines, and even though I don't shred, they're just great. But after my car accident in 2015, which spurred the degenerative arthritis in my neck, standing up to play with anything heavy, like with a Les Paul Standard or even an American, Fender, they're heavy, and the Parkers are really, really light, and the necks on them are just great. They're just great. So they sound good.
There you go.
So.
And so I guess, do you keep yours like on a rack or something? Because like your Parker, does it live in a case? Does it stay on a rack? Because we know it probably doesn't hang given the headstock shape. So
it doesn't hang. No, I keep everything in cases because I'm a klutz and I'll just knock things over. So there are a couple on stands, like the Tully that you did for me, that's always on a stand. So that's always within arm's reach because I play it every day. Most of the other guitars, they're not case queens because I do play them all.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I'm a klutz, and so if I break another headstock off one of my Les Pauls, I'm just going to be heartbroken. So
yeah, I got that. It's and if you do that, and then, if you do that, they're going to be okay. And for a lot of us, mine have to be out if I'm going to play them, because it's like my opportunities to play are not as frequent as they used to be. Right. And so, I need to have one within hand's reach in order to actually get some playing time in.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I don't have the space like I would like I really want to have everything out on racks like you have, or how Ben has, for his background kind of thing. That would be ideal, but since I don't have the space and I'm clumsy, then they'll stay in the cases.
Well, I'll give you a clumsy story. A fella here had the PV Classic 30 behind me.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy that owned it before me had put a Celestion speaker in it, which is a little bit harsh. It's like it shows everything. And so when I traded the PRS 245 I had for it, straight across, and he had the original speaker that came with it.
Okay.
And so I had used that speaker to go ahead and test out the little Epiphone head there.
Okay.
And so that speaker had been living on the floor.
Oh no.
And a fella had decided that he was going to go ahead and put it back into the PV. And
Okay.
and so one day I was in here and I was changing chairs around because I didn't, the chair I had been using got really uncomfortable. It was starting to fall apart. And so I switched it. So I wanted to switch it for the chair over there. And so I pick up the one chair and I move it. And then I pick up the other chair and I put it down right into the speaker cone.
Oh no.
So now keep in mind, this speaker's been on the floor for like a year and a half.
Oh.
And then one day just like, okay, I guess we're not replacing that right now.
No, guess not.
But yeah, I get that whole the idea of I am clumsy, and because it is same here, and I've bumped a few things here and there.
Sure.
You haven't quite made it until you stick a guitar headstock in the ceiling fan.
Oh, then I haven't made it. I haven't done that, thankfully. But I have broken off the headstocks of Les Pauls before. So
there you go. Well, so have you actually broken one all the way off?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Why don't we tell that story?
Oh, this is clumsiness for sure. I had some work done, some setups done by a friend who we all know, somewhat local to me, YouTuber.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to go pick them up, we just, met in a parking lot for, oh, here's the guitars. Hey, Chris, here's the money kind of thing. And it was really windy, and I had one of the cases that the Les Paul Menace was in kind of leaning on my vehicle, but kind of not, because it will balance.
Mm-hmm.
Wind took it, blew it down. And I had just got it from having it set up. Didn't even open the case because I was afraid to. Went about my day. He got home and I messaged Phil, hey, guess what? Broke the headstock. And what's funny is that Shauna was with him and she said, what was that sound? And Phil didn't even realize it. And she knew. So
well, that's the thing.
That was the stupid one. That one was the really stupid one.
That had to be like watching it fall in like slow motion.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
No.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not one of my better moments.
No, I wouldn't think so. Well, the other thing you and I had kind of been talking about in the green room was that this idea that, is there another guitar on the list? Right?
Yeah.
And
we talked about that.
We talked about that, and then my thought on it is, no matter how much we don't want to admit it, there's always another guitar on the list.
There always is.
No matter how many you get, there's always going to be that one more on the list.
Yeah, I don't know what it would be. I don't know, but in the back of my head, it's another Gretsch. You're going to get another Gretsch. Well, I find another good deal, then it's a possibility. But yeah, I need to slow my spending down. Then 2 guitars in a week and a half. I think that's enough for now.
Do we need to stage an intervention? That's
No, not yet. Not till I declare bankruptcy.
okay. So there will be signs, is what he's saying.
Yes.
Let's see. I am not doing a very good job with the chat today, so my apologies. Scott Brockway says he ends up having his guitars mostly the same, but they all feel different, which makes them play different.
Yes. Yes.
And there's some kind of chatter going on in the chat about whether to have one, what tunings to have your guitars in, and that kind of as well. So.
Interesting question. I don't know. Sometimes guitars pick their own tunings. They don't like standard, so maybe they'd want to be drop D or half step down or something like that. Kind of like guitars will sometimes pick their own strings.
Mm-hmm.
I want 9s on this strap, but for some reason the wood doesn't agree with it, so you have to choose a different string gauge.
Yeah. Yeah, there's an idea of what you want to play, and then sometimes the guitar says, I don't really like that.
Yes.
And Steve Brand's saying Strats wouldn't look that way if they didn't want to be beaten. Okay. So he's a relic guy, I would imagine.
But he's right. They want to be played.
Well,
all guitars do.
Yeah, all guitars want to be played, and the Strat is kind of like the pickup truck as guitars, right?
Yes, I'd say Tellys are.
Well, that too, yeah.
Tellys are, but yeah. Hey, Bo.
BC Rich. That's why everyone needs to play headless instruments.
Sure.
All headless instruments. Okay. Now this is an interesting comment. You can fix a whole speaker with $1 in nail polish.
I bet you could.
Yeah.
I've never tried it though.
Well, I figured you could patch the cone, but it wouldn't be. It'd be that portion of the cone would flex different than the rest of it, wouldn't it?
I would think so. Keith is going to have to show us.
Yeah,
explain how to do it.
Oh, I'm so far behind in the chat because you can say Phil's name. It's not a secret.
He isn't a secret, but
yeah. Hello there, Mitch Heyman. Made his way in. Let's see. I'm going to see if there's a question. Ben started it, Charles. He was asking why buy the same guitar again. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, I did see Ben's comment.
Mm-hmm.
Why buy the same thing? Well, even the same make and model of a guitar, they all feel different. They're not quite the same. So yeah.
You don't have a blue one yet.
Don't have a blue. Yeah.
Martian Furry doesn't holes in speakers make them sound better. Oh, I've heard that. I've heard where people that punctured their speakers to get a certain sound, but
work for the Kinks.
Yeah. Yeah, Eddie, that's kind of the idea. I guess you put the $1 up against the cone and then you cover it and clear nail polish and like fabric topping the speaker cone.
Oh, I want to see that.
That won't be too dark.
I want to see that.
Oh, let's see. Now Guitar Man 45 starting something. We need to find Ben another Murphy lab to look forward to.
We do. We do. His soul.
Steve Cassidy, for those times when you come home with all 10 fingers and bright pink nail polish, easy explained away. I was just fixing the speaker.
I don't know how to respond to that. For those few times, yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, that is too much. So what is your let's kind of go back to your guitar routine, right? So
Sure.
do you have a routine when you come in and play, or do you just pick up and kind of go?
I mean, on a day-to-day basis, what I do?
Day-to-day basis. Sorry.
Oh, it depends on the guitar that I pick up, but usually it's just in the beginning simple exercises to warm up the fingers. Maybe do something like the G major scale in 3 octaves, and then to just run that through and be sure that my picking hand is consistent with it. And so I'm not choking out notes, but it will just be something like this that I'll do for, a little, 5 minutes or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, then I'll start playing, because then my hand is warmed up, or my hands are warmed up, stretched, and then that also gets me in a better mindset, so to speak, of, okay, well, what are we going to do now?
Mm-hmm.
Is it, practicing, continue to practice something? Is it going to be writing something, or is it just to kind of turn my brain off and de-stress? So
Right. Yeah, I guess it comes back to that reason of why you're playing, right? Am I just trying to make my day a little better, or am I trying to pick up something new, or
sure.
right?
Sure. Yeah, sometimes there's not a plan. It's just, no, I haven't played today, so I need to play.
Mm-hmm.
Good for the mental health.
Yeah, I find myself sometimes the only time I'll get a chance to play is during one of my breaks from work, right? And so, because I know that, in the evening, I got to take care of family, or there's a show to do, or there's something else that I have to do, and so if I don't think I'm going to get any playing time in later in the day, I'll take one of those breaks, and that will be what I do. At least I get hands on something.
Yes.
And I didn't sit there. Eddie Faye says, "Oh, writing something. Please continue. Say more about that."
What do you want me to say, Eddie? I mean, writing. That's the most difficult thing for me, is writing, and something that I think is different, or at least new to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't tell you how many times I've written something, or a riff or a chord, like a chord progression kind of thing. Then listen back to it, it's like, oh no, the Everly Brothers did that 50 years ago, kind of thing. So that's the frustrating
Mm-hmm.
part about that. Yes, there are only so many notes, we know that, and so many different combinations to put them in, but that's where theory helps. What makes sense where, and yeah, it's a process, and sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's, well, that was horrible. That was a horrible idea. But the thought is to, even if it's horrible, at least get it out. So it's not taking up space in your head.
And Eddie kind of did follow up a little bit after you asked. He said, "What's the inspiration in the process? Do words come first? Just progressions, tones, riffs?"
There isn't a first, and where inspiration comes from, I don't know. Could be something somebody says. Could be, changing channels while driving and hearing a piece and thinking, "Oh, that's interesting. What if I were to flip it on its head and do this?" A lot of times, like while practicing, it will, something can happen just from a mistake, and then it's not a mistake. Oh, okay, that's one way to do it. And it could be chord progressions, or it could be riffs. A lot of what I am doing is, for writing, is looking at, say, a 2-5-1 progression, and that is a progression that you can go down a rabbit hole and never escape from. So I'll do things around that, and play play around with that formula, and then change it to 2-5-6-1 or whatever. So that's kind of the process. There isn't ever a set way, at least for me.
And I think, I think that's all. I mean, Ben was talking about how really finding a really good tone can inspire him to write new riffs.
Yes.
And I think it's always, inspiration. You never know where inspiration comes from. And sometimes you just hit that one note and it leads to, okay, where can I go from there? And, that kind of thing. Or sometimes you're just blowing off steam and you hit this right combination, or
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Tone is inspiring. For sure. Which is why I have so many darn pedals. It's not that they're inspiring. Don't buy them because I need the inspiration, but they are inspiring. And once again, the sound in my head that I'm trying to get out, those help me achieve it. But that's another rabbit hole that I haven't found my perfect tone. One reason to be jealous of Ben. He says, "No, I'm set. I'm set. I'm happy with my tone," and he should be, because he sounds great.
Yeah.
And so I'm jealous of that, but I'm still searching.
Well, that's all right. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But Eddie Fay had one more follow-up question that I thought was really good. He's like, do you like to share your ideas so someone else can be inspired, or you just like, you kind of keep them to yourself until you get them worked out?
It's mostly internal, Eddie. I don't really share too much. I will from time to time, like I'll show something to Charles or Ben or Trev or something like that. Hey, I was thinking this, kind of thing, but I don't have anything recent isn't completed, so it's still in pieces, and so I'm working through those puzzles in my head. So
I love this. Eddie says we could inspire each other with challenges to build, create, craft a song with certain constraints. Like you said, I did hear you say a 2-5-1 progression.
I did say that.
And then
We could inspire each other for sure.
And Bo has a confession. He said he stole a few patterns and licks from me, and he would the other day.
I think that's a good source to steal from.
And Ben appreciates your comments. He says he appreciate that. It took me many years to find my tone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
endless.
and then Earl says proficiency ultimately, proficiency ultimately comes down to 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration.
Yeah, you got to put in the work.
Yep.
There's a lot of realizing, what's in your head will come from a certain technical ability. So he's right. Yes, words is hard, Ben.
Hey, English is only my first language.
Right.
Steve Brand says he likes to take the digits of a barcode and make them his fret positions for a riff. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to that other idea, because both in the green room and here, you've kind of let it out of the box a little bit, but you have this sound in your head you're trying to get out.
Yep.
And so you're using you've been experimenting with all the pedals and the guitars and all this to help get that that tone out of your head and out there. And
Sure.
you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, it's tone, very subjective thing, and for me, it's really tones. That's nice. That's a good idea. And so in my head, I have a perfect clean tone, a perfect dirtier tone, bleed tone, and things like that. And the SLO 30 is really good for the dirtier stuff, of course. And then I have a Fender Twin. That's not really a twin, but the Tweed Deluxe that I built for using the Mojatone kit and class that I took for the clean ABY splitter, but then dialing them, both in to work together is the challenge. But then, well, what style and what kind of music am I playing? The country, well, this tone isn't necessarily going to work for that, or maybe it will. Yeah, only on Metal Zone variants, sure. Yes, of course, our favorite. So that's the challenge, and then is tones and not necessarily a single or a singular tone. But it's fun to try to chase down.
All right. Well,
it's frustrating as hell too.
Of course, it's funny when one of the things I've been trying to work out with my own tone is I always feel like what I'm playing is too trebly, right? Too on the top, right? Not enough bass in it. And I think I was talking to Ben about it. He's like, I know. It says maybe I should turn up the bass on my amp. And he's like, no, what you want to actually do is turn it the other way down. Actually turn it down and keep it lower because of the way it balances out. And I'm still trying to understand that one.
Yeah. That, or you could, depending on the guitar, mess with the tone knob as well. That'll help, especially on strats. If you're in positions 2 and 4, just roll back the tone just, a little bit. And I find that helps for clean tones. Yes, positions 2 and 4.
Positions 2 and 4. And VC Rich says Math Rock does a lot of that, using prime numbers and sequence and Fibonacci number sequences as well. So,
yep.
What is it? I once heard it was music is the Was it math is the music is the language of music?
I don't know if I've ever heard that, but that makes sense.
So okay, let's there was something I was looking for, but I can't find it now in the moment.
Okay. All right, we'll improvise.
All right. So I know what playing guitar does for me, right? I kind of, but what does it do for you?
For Eddie or for me?
For you.
Oh, what does it do for me? Oh, it keeps me sane. Keeps me creative. Yeah, this is gonna sound very Laz-like, but it is therapy, especially if you can just shut everything out, and then you realize after an hour you don't really remember doing it at all, or you're not really concentrating on what you're doing here, but you hear the music that's coming out of your amp, and that's what you're listening to without really being aware of what's happening, which is rare, but it's cool when it does happen. So yeah, for me, it's just is part of being alive.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
No, it does. It's I think we all approach it for a different reason, and finding your reason in it helps you get where you want to go, and and but the one thing I think that's universal in it all is that you need to be having fun doing it.
For sure. Yeah. You first pick it up, you think it's all going to be parties and girls and all this stuff. Well, I mean, that's worked for quite a few people, never for me. I wasn't able to realize that dream and have the Motley Crue debauchery, which is probably a better thing. But once you start going down this path and staying with it, then it is just becomes a part of you. For me.
Mm. Well, Doc says it's a great show, guys. He's been listening in while he's working. He's going to run, but he wants us all to have a rocking day.
Thank you, Docs.
And Bo says, "Tone. I have I have tone up the kazoo, and it's it's more want, not need. If I've been more trying to create now." Okay. All right.
And that's true.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
That's true. Bo is more of a want than not need. None of us need these things, or we only need one guitar.
Yeah. I guess when it really comes down to it, that is true. We none of this stuff is a need, but the one thing is that is a need is that we need it in our life, right?
Yes,
We need it for what it does for us.
for sure.
And Scott Brockway says perhaps people get too hung up on tone, sort of like putting conditions on happiness. If you do that, you'll never be happy or satisfied.
Maybe, or maybe it's part of the journey,
Mm-hmm.
Scotty. And I'm not disagreeing with you. Is it maybe I do get too hung up on tone, but tone is an identity in a way, and want it to be a little bit different for everybody.
Mm-hmm. And then Lucas says, whenever he's in a bad mood, playing guitar, just maybe noodling for a couple minutes helps me to calm down, relax, and just overall makes him happy.
Absolutely, Lucas. Yeah.
And Ben says, chasing tone for him was trying to get the sound in my head through my gear.
Yeah.
Yep. Equal step to your happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And NBC Rich, I thought it would all be parties and girls, and then I found out the gig I landed was a Village People cover band.
Nice. Nice.
I'm not going there.
No. I don't know what to do with that.
Searching for Tone says, came for the guitars, stayed for the debt.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's good. And Guitar Man says, oh, trust me, Chris, the girls and that life of party kind of is presented to your face. You just need to manage it correctly.
Duly noted. Thanks.
Well, Chris, believe it or not, we've gone through our hour. And
wow, I thought we were just getting started.
Yeah, I know. It just feels like we're just kind of finding our feet, right? You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I definitely want to thank you for coming on again.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for having me on and trusting me without my security blanket. You know, our buddy Ben. So yeah, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you to everyone in the chat for your support for me personally, but more importantly for Charles, because he works so hard and is a massive part of this community and helping hold it all together. So thank you.
Right. Well, thank you, Chris. I so appreciate you coming on. You're always one of my favorite people to talk to. And so the more we get to do it, the better.
The more we get to do it, the better. I agree.
All right.
Thanks again.
Well, folks, everyone have a great day. Make sure you check out the other shows. Music Therapy Labs comes on here in about 3 minutes. Ryan and Yo U812 crew will be having a great show later on today. Ben Coombs will have his guest on tonight. Chris, do you happen to know who Ben's guest is tonight?
I had no clue.
Does Ben happen to know who his guest is tonight? Ben, do you know?
Ben.
Well, anyway,
he's already gone.
He's going to have a show, and it's going to be a great time. And so go ahead and check out all those. Chris, stick around for a bit. We'll have a conversation. And but I'm going to go ahead and let these fine people out the door.
Have a great day, everyone.
Have a great day, and thank you for watching as always, guys.